Welcome to the iPad Podcast, a weekly podcast from Mac's Future.
Okay, welcome to episode 97 of the iPad Podcast. This is Lex at Mac's Future, and today is Tuesday, April 24th, 2012. And I delayed the iPad Podcast by a couple of days because today is earnings day for Apple. So I'm recording this right after Apple came out with, again, smashing results for the fiscal quarter. And it was a blowout quarter, and they did have a great quarter, I think, also for the iPad. So this is a chit-chat-free podcast all about the iPad, iPad-related apps, iPad-related news, iPad-related devices, and you can support it by giving it a positive review in the iTunes store, or go to YouTube to see the video version of this, or on Blip TV, or go to the MacFuture.com website and check it out. So thanks for listening, and let's get to it. Okay, so the big news this evening, April 24th, is Apple's financial results for the second quarter. That's the quarter ending, end of March 30th or so, or was it March 24th or something like that? Yeah, no, March 31st. So, Apple's been sort of on the ropes in the last week. Apple's stock price had been steadily declining from the height of 600 and, I don't know, was it 660 or 650, something like that per share. And during the day today, before Apple released its quarterly results, it got down as low as 555. So it went down like $100 in share price in a matter of almost like a week or a week and a half. And a lot of people were sort of concerned, can Apple continue to have great quarterly results, quarter after quarter? Is the iPad slowing down? Is the iPhone slowing down? And here's the thing. Apple came out with its results and issued a press release. If you're looking at the video version of this, I have a screenshot of the press release. And it was a really tremendous quarter. Apple, a lot of it's measured on what the consensus Wall Street analyst estimates are. And the Wall Street estimates had Apple earning $10 per share in earnings per share. And there's 1 billion shares roughly outstanding, so that's like $10 billion in profit. And Apple ended up having $12.30 per share earnings. So the earnings per share were 23% greater than what the street had estimated. And the total revenue was near $40 billion. Apple had revenue of $39.2 billion. And its gross margin was 47.4%, which is really high. That means that for every dollar of sales, 47.4% of that is profit. And so these are pretty impressive numbers. And, Apple broke out in the press release how many iPhones and iPads it sold. And it sold 35.1 million iPhones, which is an 88% unit growth over the same quarter last year. And Apple sold 11.8 million iPads during the quarter, which is a 151% unit increase over the year-to-year in the same quarter last year. Apple sold 4 million Macs, and which was a decrease over the year-ago quarter, and 7.7 million iPods, which was a 15% unit decline from the year ago. So basically, it's the iPad and the iPhone that are the big cash, cows for Apple. Now, what happened? Let's see what happened in the aftermarket. Now, like I said, during the day, Apple got down to as low as $555 per share. But in the aftermarket, Apple zoomed. Trading went up like $43.53. So it got as high, I think it closed at $603 in the aftermarket. So it's still not back to the height it reached like a week before. Apple had gone up to $644. So it's back trading over $600, and we'll have to see what happens during the week. whether, the confidence in Apple can continue. So these are pretty amazing results. And, to give you a perspective, let me show you where Apple has been historically. Okay, so I put together this little chart that charts out going back to the fourth quarter of 2010, these results, these key results. And so the results are total revenue in billions of dollars, net profit in billions of dollars, earnings per share, iPhones, iPads, and Macs, and iPods. And here's what's interesting. Okay, if you go back to the fourth quarter of 2010, Apple sold in that quarter 4.19 million iPads. Then the next quarter, Apple sold 7.33 million iPads. Then in the second quarter of 2011, Apple sold 4.69 million iPads. And then in the third quarter of 2011, which would be really the quarter ending in July of last year when the iPad 2 was really selling, Apple sold 9.25 million iPads. And then in the fourth quarter, Apple sold 11.2 million iPads. And then in the first quarter of, the quarter ending December of 2011, Apple sold 15 million iPads. And Apple, this quarter, sold 11.8, which is more than double what Apple sold in the same quarter last year. Now, why is that? Well, if you go back to last year, the iPad 2 came out at the very end of the second quarter of last year. And so there was probably a slowdown in iPad sales as people anticipated the iPad 2. And then initially when the iPad 2 came out, if you remember, it only sold in the United States initially, and supply were very constrained. So a lot of iPad 2s weren't sold in the second quarter, they were sold in the third quarter. But here, Apple was able to really get the iPad 3 to sell in many markets simultaneously when it released the iPad 3, third generation iPad, in March. So Apple actually has given somewhat conservative guidance for the next quarter, and I think they're pointing out that they were able to meet a lot of the widespread demand for the third generation iPad in this past quarter. And so this coming quarter is not going to be as crazy with the iPad 2. But then again, I have a feeling that demand is just going to keep increasing for the iPad, the third generation, particularly overseas and foreign countries and in enterprise. So the Apple juggernaut continues to chug along, and it's pretty impressive. Now, before Apple came out with its quarterly results, some financial analysts were upbeat about Apple, and according to blog on Barrons.com, Goldman Sachs raised its forecast and target price for Apple stock to $750. And we can see in retrospect what Goldman predicted. Goldman predicted for the second quarter that Apple would have 36.9 million in revenue and 10.18 per share, up from 34.2 billion and 9.36 billion. So they were still below what Apple ended up coming in at. So anyways, I guess he makes he was closer to being spot on at Goldman. Interesting. Now, one result of so many iPad and iPhone sales is that iPad and iPhone sales thefts are on the rise, according to the New York police. And this is in the New York Daily News. There's an interesting article. And the article says that thefts of iPads and iPhones are up 44% in New York City this year, according to NYPD statistics. And it says there was a spike in citywide thefts of popular Apple devices like the iPhones and iPads. And it says that the in-demand devices which can retail from $200 to dollars were swiped 1,196 times as of April 15 this year, compared to 831 times during the period last year. So, that's a lot of thefts. It says apparently there was a robbery and murder of Huang Yang, a 26-year-old chef, who was gunned down in Riverdale and stripped of his iPhone on his way home from work after midnight on Thursday. So that's horrible. I mean, that somebody would be killed over an iPhone or an iPad. So be careful out there. I mean, I sometimes ride the subways, and sometimes I'm a little worried about having my iPad 3rd generation out, or even my iPhone, and I try to be discreet about it and keep it close to me or in a bag. It says here that cops nabbed a sticky-fingered career criminal at Grand Central Station after he swiped an iPhone out of the backpack of an undercover decoy cop on an Uptown 4 train Thursday. So, it's ironic because there's an Apple store right in Grand Central Station. So be careful. I mean, these are expensive devices, and so don't be too, nonchalant in carrying them, and try to keep them, I wouldn't keep the iPad flashing around in public when you're on public transportation or even walking in the street. Okay, so speaking of thefts, it's not just in New York that people are stealing iPads. They're also stealing them in Washington, D.C. The WashingtonPost.com had an interesting article on April 19th entitled, Stolen iPad, Would You Chase a Thief on the Metro? And it says that when Pentagon analyst Daniel Wenger had his iPad snatched during his metro commute, he chased after the thief to recover his stolen tablet. And then it goes on to say, what would you have done? Metro has warned riders in recent years to closely guard their tablets, smartphones, and MP3 players due to an increasing number of thefts. So the poll is, would you let the thief go? Getting hurt is not worth it. I would like to think I would chase down the thief, but I might be too shocked to react in the way I want, or I would chase down the thief no matter what, or other. So I think the wiser course is probably just to let it go. Again, try to be discreet with your iPad or iPhone, and be on the lookout, particularly when you're in crowded areas. Now, one headache for Apple might be coming to an end regarding the iPad, and this is this dispute in mainland China between a company called Proview, which claims to own the trade name iPad, and Apple. Now, Proview, I guess, is a subsidiary or a company related to another company named Proview that Apple bought the name iPad from before Apple launched the iPad. And Apple believed it had bought the name iPad for China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and I guess Asia. And this entity, Proview, claimed that the other Proview didn't have a right to sell it in China, and that the mainland China Proview still owned the name iPad. And at least one small court in China sided with Proview, and Proview is trying to extort money from Apple by saying, hey, we'll prevent you from exporting or selling any iPads out of China. And since the iPad's made in China, this is pretty risky stuff. But apparently Apple is in settlement talks with Proview. The court there is trying to broker a settlement or get the parties to come to a settlement. And there's a quote in MacRumors.com quoting IDG News, reporting that the two companies are engaged in settlement talks with an eye toward resolving the issue. There's a quote that says, Ma Dongzhou, a lawyer representing the Chinese company Proview, said on Friday that the talks were happening but declined to offer details. And so we'll have to see. During the earnings call today, Tim Cook said, he'd rather not litigate, he'd rather settle the various litigations that Apple's in. So we'll see if Tim Cook has the same sort of litigation fight that Steve Jobs had. Steve Jobs was highly principled, and when he felt like Apple had been wrong, he was very, in a way stubborn and really wants to like just fight it out. So we'll have to see if Tim Cook is as stubborn as Steve Jobs was. Now, there was an interesting story in PCWorld.com this week as to why Apple makes the iPad in China. And they make a very interesting point. They say the reason Apple makes the iPad in China is not just because of the cheap labor, but also because of rare earth elements used in a tablet that can only be found there, according to reports. And actually, PC World is reporting on something that was in the New York Times. And the New York Times points out that China currently controls 95 to 97% of the world's supply of the rare earth materials that Apple uses to make the iPad. And China's decision to cut export quotas has caused price of the materials to rapidly increase. And it says that companies can only be exempt from China's rare earth export quotas by manufacturing within China, which is why Apple chose to have its iPads made there, says iFixit. So this is a very interesting argument. Countries have accused China of hoarding rare earth materials and not making them easily available. The article goes on to say it's not clear exactly what rare earth materials are used in the iPad because of Apple's secretive nature. But Dr. Tim Coombs, a UK engineer, believes, according to this article, that it might be something called lanthanum in the iPad's battery, as well as a range of rare earths to produce the different colors in the display. Also, something called neodymium alloy might be the material found in the magnets in the iPad and the smart cover. So I don't know. It's an interesting theory as to why Apple is producing the iPad in China. Now, it does produce some risk because, what if the Chinese government suddenly says, hey, we're going to tax the iPad or we're going to not, or we're going to shut it down. I mean, it puts Apple's business at risk. And it would be nice if Apple could figure out a way to make the iPad in other places. Now, Foxconn is also building or has built a plant in Brazil where it will manufacture, I guess, iPads. So, very interesting angle as to why Apple is, I guess, manufacturing the iPad in China. Now, we know that Apple's been somewhat in hot water in Australia because I guess the Australian government has been accusing Apple of misleading advertisement regarding the iPad, because the iPad is marketed as a 4G device. That's the third generation one. Now, 4G, generally means, I guess, that it works on LTE networks, and the only LTE networks the new generation iPad works on are AT&T and Verizon in the United States. And overseas, it's only going to get really 3G speeds on 3G networks. And so Apple's been accused of misleading advertising in Australia because if you read the fine print, you're not going to really get 4G speeds. But a website or a newspaper called theaustralian.com has an article entitled Telstra's mobile Wi-Fi brings true 4G speeds to Apple's new iPad. And according to the article, it says that Telstra's new 4G mobile modem definitely does deliver true 4G speeds to Apple's new iPad, but it does it through a Wi-Fi connection. And it says that the tiny mobile modem connects to Telstra's 4G and 3G mobile networks and then beams out a Wi-Fi signal that can link. So basically, the article is basically saying in Australia, if you really want 4G speeds, you can get one of Telstra's battery-powered mobile modems that lets you connect via to 4G via Wi-Fi. So it's a workaround for I guess people in Australia if they really need 4G speeds. The next article I came across leads me to believe that some people think that the iPad's a frivolous device. There's an article in the StarTribune.com, and I guess this is where in Minnesota or in Illinois or someplace like that. But basically, the headline is iPad hopes may have doomed Inver Grove Heights referendum. And the story is that in this town called Grove Heights, the school, was trying to get a referendum passed for, I guess, financing technology in the school. And I guess they didn't get the referendum through. And some people believe it's because it may have included the iPad. And the article starts off by saying, did an iPad fixation cost Inver Grove Heights schools a chance at money to equip classrooms for 21st century learning? And it says that within hours of a levy defeat last month, the buzz on Facebook was about a disconnect between district needs, such as an upgraded computer network and a new telephone system, and the perception that school leaders wanted to buy every child an iPad. And it goes on to say Apple's popular tablet computer for a lot of people means gaming device or some sort of plaything, says Liz Miomaya, a mother of 2 young children in Inver Grove Heights. And it goes on to quote her to say, they don't know how it can really assist in learning, and they don't know how it can save a lot of money, end quote, she said. And it goes on to say, leaders in the 3,794 student district had proposed raising $700,000 per year for 10 years to meet technology needs. A homeowner with a $200,000 house would have paid about $60 per year in additional taxes. And it goes on to say voters rejected the measure, 1,614. So basically, the story is that, look, some of the teachers or parents talking about why they were defeated think that, that in selling this financing to the voters, they gave voters the impression that the iPad was going to be included in the technology, and that some people thought it was like frivolous. But here's the thing, I think that the iPad in schools is not frivolous, that in fact it is economical. Like, I've been to some public schools, and at least in New York City, a lot of public schools have these smart board technologies, these big boards that have like some sort of electronic input, and kids can go up and touch them. Now, these boards are very expensive. And the thing is, with the iPad, yeah, you can put games on them, but you can also restrict what goes on it. And there's a lot of great learning tools that can go on the iPad, like starting off writing. You can write on the iPad and share your writing with the rest of the class. There's, of course, the Khan Academy videos, which are great learning tools. And there's all sorts of great learning tools. And school districts, these apps are really relatively cheap compared to the apps that you could get on a PC, or the apps, I guess, even for a smart board or something like that. So I think schools should talk about the value of the iPad. The other thing is, school districts that don't integrate the iPad into the learning experience are not allowing their kids to really see the future of computing, because a regular computer and a mouse and keyboard are not the future of computing. The future of computing is touch input or voice input, and it's sort of ridiculous to give kids this old-fashioned computer education when really computers are going to be completely different and closer to what the iPad is than what a PC is. So it's an interesting article, but I think if anything, the school district should have done a better job selling the need for the iPad and other such devices for the school district. Okay, so in terms of cool devices for your iPad, I saw something on Wired.com's gadget lab, and they had something called Padcaster, and they said that Padcaster turns your new iPad into a complete video production rig, and basically, I mean, here's what it says. It's a super sturdy $200 iPad case that attaches to a tripod and a camera lens, promising a cost-effective method for tapping into the performance of Apple's improved camera hardware. It says, in the image above, a Carl Zeiss lens was attached to the case using Podcaster's $80 LensCaster mount. The case itself is made of aluminum, but inside it's padded to ensure a comfortable, snug fit for your Apple tablet. And so basically, it's like a case that then allows you to put like high-end lenses on the back of the iPad, and I guess take movies and stuff like that. So this was shown at the National Association of Broadcasters 2012 show in Las Vegas. So there's a link to Podcaster. Let's see if we can go to the website. And the website says Podcaster pricing and delivery times next week. But it looks kind of cool. Let's see, there's a video. First Podcaster video sprung spring. Shot on the iPad 3. So it basically turns your iPad into a much more professional video taking camera, because you've got this case that then allows high-end lenses to be connected to the camera. Very cool. So anyways, it hasn't come out yet, but you may want to check it out. Now, the iPad's being used more and more in enterprise, and one of the more interesting uses for the iPad in enterprise was reported in a Bloomberg BusinessWeek story that came out April 19th, entitled UBS Uses iPad to Let Clients Design Trading Algorithms. UBS is a financial firm on Wall Street, and it basically, algorithms are like these complex trading instruments, investments where trading is done based on formulas, complex formulas. And the article, it says, UBS will let clients design trading algorithms on Apple's iPad, putting tailor-made tools in their hands more quickly in an effort to improve performance and capture equities market share, according to executives at the Zurich-based bank. And it goes on to say the move extends a trend towards customization that began about 5 years ago. It says algorithms used by U.S. asset managers to trade 19% of their volume, according to Greenwich Associates, are automated tactics that break larger buy or sell orders into hundreds of thousands of smaller pieces over a specified period to mute price impact and mask activity. Customization allows traders to fine-tune automated strategies. So it's a very interesting article. It says we can now build an algorithm in days, and we won't have the lost in translation problem about what will ultimately be built. What's lost in phone calls and emails. It says we're eliminating the slippage and improving execution. The electronic strategies will be more client-centric, more scientific. So this is interesting. I mean, this is pretty complex stuff. So it sounds like UBS is building an app that will allow their customers to design their own complex trading instructions. It says here that UBS's Direct Execution Trading Group, the 100-person unit in the bank's global equities division, will extend technology-driven tools to customers as part of a new service called Quant on Demand. And the first product is something called Quid Studio, offering of individual algorithms and equities and futures. That's available, I guess, as of that day to clients. So this is really an interesting tool that they're using the iPad to do it. It says, until now, customers haven't been able to use the iPad application to help devise their own algorithms and the bank has done it for them to make sure the process worked. It goes on to say managers and quantitative analysts will begin visiting clients in the U.S. and Europe to show them the product. So I wonder if other Wall Street firms are going to use the iPad to create, special trading vehicles for clients. It says the iPad algorithm development application allows UBS clients to see simulations of how fast and at what prices standardized or custom algorithms will process an order, such as the purchase of 500,000 shares of Cisco systems based on the automated behavior and parameters chosen and limits on accepted prices on the volume based on trading. It goes on to say the system uses data for quiet or volatile days. So this is really, to me, this is about the most enterprisey thing you can do with the iPad in a way. It goes on to say customers can create algorithms they'll use for a few weeks during the corporate earnings season or in the run-up to the rebalance of Russell indexes, an event in June when the constituents of the benchmark gauges and their weightings are revamped. So look, it sounds to me like Wall Street's going to be using the iPad more and more. So, very interesting story. Now, Windows 8 on the tablet hasn't been officially launched. It's probably coming in the fall. There's a beta out now, but it may be in jeopardy by some other apps that are coming out on the iPad. And PC Mag has a story out entitled Splashtop iPad app could affect Windows 8 tablet sales. It says, so apparently there's an app called Splashtop, and it says here it's known for its remote desktop solutions. Now, we've seen a lot of these apps which allow you to connect remotely to your computer from your iPad, and apparently Splashtop has announced a new capability that will allow the consumer preview of Windows 8 to run on an iPad, and that's pretty interesting. It says the solution is targeted mainly at developers, but it provides a full-fledged Windows 8 experience on an iPad, and it says it could put a dent in sales of Windows 8 bundled tablets. And it says that the Win 8 Metro testbed powered by Splashtop is a remote desktop app that allows software developers and technology enthusiasts to simulate a Windows 8 environment on an iPad. It says it is designed for developers who may want to write apps for Windows 8 and who may own iPads but not necessarily want to purchase a dedicated Windows tablet. And it says that developers can test native Metro UI touch gestures on an iPad as they code and compile new apps on their Windows PCs. And it says tablets running Windows 8 could potentially cost up to $1,000. And it says that the app also enables a native Windows 8 Metro touch gestures, including the swiping to view the Charms menu, swiping down to bring up additional menus, pinching to navigate files, folders, apps, and data. So I guess they're saying that this could impact the sales of Windows 8, because if people can test it on the iPad, why would they buy a Windows 8? It goes on to say if Splashtop's app provides not only a testbed for developers with iPads to test drive apps coded for Windows 8, but also offers end users a full functioning Windows 8 experience on an iPad, Win 8 Metro testbed could be akin to tablets with Boot Camp is to desktops. That is, allowing users to enjoy both operating systems on one hardware platform. It goes on to say, well, it's interesting. I mean, do people really want to have Windows? See, the difference is, I don't think it's a good analogy. Here's why. Because the Mac operating system was a very minority percentage of the total PC market. And Apple created Boot Camp as a means to sort of give comfort to people to switching to a Mac from the much larger group of people who were using Windows, to say, look, you can, if you need to, you can launch Windows on your Mac and run your Windows apps like through that. who's going to want to run Windows? There is no Windows 8 tablets out. There are no Windows 8 tablets out. So why would anybody really want to like run Windows 8 tablet on an iPad virtually when you have an iPad? So I don't think it's going to add to any more, cutback of Windows 8 tablet sales. I don't think there's going to be a lot of Windows 8 tablet sales, but I don't think this is going to be the reason why. Okay, so now I want to talk about a couple of apps that I think are very important for productivity and in the enterprise. Now, in the enterprise at work, you're most likely going to be using Adobe PDF documents. PDF documents are sort of a standard file format that everybody uses at work. And one of the features that PDF documents have are the ability to have hyperlinks in them. And one of the things that some lawyers use are like hyperlinking briefs to exhibits and having them all sort of be self-referential. And other people use that too. You can do all sorts of interesting things with PDFs where you have like a main document referring to other documents and linking them. And as long as you put them all in the same folder, the hyperlinking structure works. You can also hyperlink within a document to other parts of a document. So if you have a very lengthy document with a table of contents, you can have the table of contents have hyperlinks to the exact pages. So there are powerful tools that Adobe has created in PDFs. But the thing is that not all programs that handle PDFs on the iPad can really handle hyperlinks. And in fact, the the official Adobe Reader app on the iPad that came out recently, I don't think really handles that well. But I came across two apps that do it and are specifically support it. One is actually a really great app that I bought. It cost $9.99, and it's called PDF Expert, made by Readle. And it's a very powerful tool, but the cool feature is you can import lots of PDFs in a folder structure, and the hyperlink structure will still be maintained, and you can use it. And it has many other features. It's a very well made app, and it's very balanced. And if you work a lot with PDFs, this is a great solution. Now, it has a lot of great features. First of all, you can import, like many apps, from Dropbox, and that works very well. You can also, I guess, FTP a connection to the app, or you could just use your if you're on a Wi-Fi network, you could use the browser to find the address on the Wi-Fi and dump the documents in, or even just use the iTunes Connect when you dock your iPad into a computer with iTunes. Under apps, you can use the browser to add documents to it. But once you have those documents in it, you can do a lot of powerful things. You can easily organize your documents into folders and subfolders. So that's very, very cool. You can also rename folders very quickly, and you can add and move like dozens and dozens of PDFs quickly to a folder you've created. I like how they've designed it. You can just sort of tap on them and then press a button, move, and then say where you want it to go, and it'll go there. So that part I really like. Now, let's say you have a document. It has very powerful editing tools. So there's a drop-down menu when you press like a pencil, and the menu gives you very powerful tools. You have you can create like a square, or an oval or a line or an arrow. And the cool thing is when you press down and hold your finger on the square, you get a choice of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different colors ranging from white and black to yellow, orange, green, red, blue, and pink and purple. And in addition to that, you've got a highlighter, a text highlighter. And again, that one, you can pick different colors. You've got a choice of 8 colors. You can underline, and again, you just press down your finger and you have a choice of 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 colors, or you can slash through text. You could also add notes wherever you want. And you can also, I guess, put a stamp down on part of your text, or add an image, or add text or a note, or even your signature. So the stamp has lots of different standard stamps, such as approved, not approved, draft, final, completed, confidential, for public beta, not for public release, for comment, void, preliminary results, information, check marks, X's, witness, initial here, revised, sign here. Or you can create your custom text map, or custom image stamp. So it's kind of cool. It's very powerful. So that's the stamp. In addition to that, you have you can create your own signature. You can you just tap and hold down where you want to add it. So you sign below where you want, and then you save it. And then when you want to sign somewhere, you just hold your finger down. It gives you a choice of note, text, stamp, image, or signature, and you can put my signature, and there you have it, and you can quickly move it around. What I like about the app, it's very responsive and very easy to resize stuff. Then you also have the ability to change the text in the document, I guess, and you can type over the PDF, and you can change the color, you can change the font. Again, you have a choice of lots of fonts. I think there are dozens and dozens of fonts, Academy. And the cool thing is, if you want to get rid of it, I guess you just hold your finger over it and delete it. To me, I think this is just a really well-designed app. What else do you have? You have the ability to search within the PDF, and you have the ability to go to a page, to change brightness, to enable crop mode, to send it by email, to save a copy, to print it, or to open it in another device. And you can choose a file format to open it. What's interesting is you can send it with the editable annotations, signatures, and form fields, or you can send it as a flattened copy. Use this option to send the document to another iPad and iPhone users, and to protect your annotations and forms from editing. And you can also have an annotation summary, which insert summary of all annotations present in the document into an email body, and then the document will be attached to the. So it's very powerful. What else? You have bookmarks. You can easily add bookmarks to different spots and then see them quickly. You just press your finger and you add a bookmark. So look, I think this is a great app. It's called PDF Expert by Readle. It's $9.99, and I highly recommend it. Now, another app that is dedicated to really handling hyperlinked PDFs and is only $4.99. I haven't tried it out, but it looks really interesting, and it's called Legal Viewer by Strut Legal Inc. And basically it's designed to help lawyers, but anybody who deals with hyperlinked PDFs and could use it. And basically it says the following: Legal Viewer is a PDF viewer designed to support the review of hyperlinked PDFs on the iPad. The rise of the iPad use in the legal industry, coupled with the popularity of the PDF format within law firms and courts, leads us to create Legal Viewer. We believe this is the first iPad application developed to serve the specific needs of the legal community by providing a simple yet powerful way to view and annotate e-briefs, hyperlinked briefs, and other PDFs on the iPad. And it goes on to say, with Legal Viewer, cross-document hyperlinks are active, making it possible for the end user to review your e-brief on the iPad. It goes on to say, no longer will there be a need to carry around a paper version of all the documents or download PDFs one by one from a website. Users can now load all of the PDFs on their iPad and read, copy text, and annotate. Navigation is simple, it says, so the focus is on reading the filing and or supporting documents. It goes on to say it supports cross-document linking, simple navigation, and clean interface. Bookmarking within a PDF. Annotation tools include highlighting, striking, drawing, and notes. Thumbnail view, searching, Dropbox integration, and again, there aren't a lot of apps that does this, and Legal Viewer seems to be another one. I used PDF Expert, but this looks kind of interesting too. Now, one app that's been around on iOS for a long time, that's a music-related app, just got a major upgrade, and it's by Shazam. Now, Shazam is that app that first came out on the iPhone that allows you to open it and have it listen to whatever music's playing, and then it would tell you what music's playing. And now there's a new version, that's version 1.5.1, which is optimized for the iPad, and it has something new called View Lyric Play on your TV with AirPlay and Apple TV, as well as an enhanced Retina support and fun visualizations for non-lyric play tracks. So it looks like with this new Shazam service on this app, you'll be able to have it listen to music and then see lyrics also simultaneously. And it says, bring your music to life with Lyric Play. See streaming lyrics in time to the music. You'll always have the words to your favorite songs with you. Share the soundtracks of your day on Facebook and Twitter. Watch YouTube videos and concert clips. Find tour dates for bands and artists you're into. Manage your music. See your iTunes playlist and create new playlists on the fly. This is free, I guess, and select your favorite tracks and hide ones you don't want to hear. So it says Lyric Play is now available on 30,000 tracks, and that they're adding more at the time. So this could be sort of a fun upgrade if you use Shazam, where it just listens to the music and then feeds you the lyrics in real time. So I haven't tried this out to see how well it plays, but it's probably worth downloading it since it's free. Now, if you're paranoid about who's using your iPad when you're not using it, there's a jailbreak app that sounds kind of interesting and creative. I read about this on some website called chipchick.com, and it's called Peek Tab, and it says Peek Tab is essentially spy software designed specifically with tablets in mind. And it says that the idea is that employers who distribute company-owned tablets and parents of kids who use tablets can keep abreast of activity going on those tablets at all times. It's important to note, though, that aside from rare exceptions, those are the only two legal uses of the software. It says that when PeakTab is installed on the tablet, it records just about every piece of data that passes through the device. That includes web history, emails, Facebook communication, text messages, photo apps, and notes. And it says all of the data is transmitted to an online viewing account that can be accessed from an internet browser. It says GPS information about where the tablet has been is also transmitted to the online account. Again, if you're not a parent or an employer, you're thinking about using this, it says that it could be breaking the law. And it costs not cheap for a jailbreak app. It says that PeakTab is available now, and it costs $30 every quarter, so about $120 a year, or $10 per month to use. But in a way, this is also a good surveillance device. If somebody steals your iPad, it sort of tracks, I guess, who has it and where it is. So it's sort of like a LoJack and copier of everything on your iPad. So it's very clever. I don't think I'm going to get it, but if you really need to have surveillance on your iPad, this might be the thing for you. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about hasn't really come to the iPad yet, but it's going to come to the iPad very soon, and that is Google Drive. Today, Google finally announced that it's going to provide an online, backup system, or an online storage system known as Google Drive. And there had been rumors for years that Google was working on something called Google Drive. And the concept is similar to what Dropbox does. Now, what's going on is, Dropbox started a sort of land rush or gold rush of other companies trying to do something similar to what Dropbox does. Now, I have Dropbox on the iPad and the iPhone and my Macs, and it's a great service. Dropbox works by giving you 2 gigabytes of free storage online, and then Dropbox cleverly on a computer creates a folder on your computer, and anything you put into the folder syncs to your Dropbox account online, and it's also made available in any other folder you have on any other computer that's logged into the same account, or on any other Dropbox app you have on an iOS or Android device that's logged into the same account. So it's a great way to sync your files between your mobile devices and your computers. And a lot of apps on the iPhone and the iPad are work with Dropbox and rely on Dropbox for accessing data and syncing with their sister apps on other devices. So all of a sudden there's like a lot of competitors to Dropbox. I mean, Apple's iCloud doesn't create a folder on your computer, but the idea is that it uses the cloud and free cloud storage to sync your data across devices. And today Google announced Google Drive, and you can get it. And they said it's coming to the mobile devices, but right now it's just available on PCs and Macs. It says iPhone and iPad coming soon, and it is available on Android devices. And basically Google Drive, it starts off, it gives you 5 gigabytes for free. And it says you can store your files in a safe place. And it says go beyond storage collaboration. It says Google Drive lets you do more than just store your files, share files with exactly who you want, and edit them together from any device. Now, I should say, in recent days, Dropbox has been upgraded so that within your file folder structure, you right click on the file, and you can automatically create like a link or get a link and send a link to a file, even if it's not in your public folder in Dropbox, to anybody. And here it says with Google Drive, it sounds like you can do the same thing. You can share files with exactly who you want. And the other thing is that Google Drive, unlike Dropbox, has the ability to use Google Docs within Google Drive storage. So it says you can get 5 gigabytes of free, and then you can upgrade to 25 gigabytes for less than $2.50 a month. So it's pretty cool. Let's see what other features it has. It apparently works better with Gmail. It says goodbye to bulky email attachments. Send a link from Google Drive in Gmail, and everybody has the same file. And also with Google Plus, it says your videos and pictures in Google Drive are instantly available in Google Plus, so you're never more than one click away. So that's kind of cool. It's integrated with your social network. In terms of search, it says Google Drives help you get to your files faster. Search for content by keyword and filter by file type. So I guess it has powerful search features. And also you can open over 30 file types right in your browser. It says including high definition video, Adobe Illustrator, and Photoshop. And it says that a lot of apps are going to be able to use Google Drive. It says create, open, and share files from a variety of apps directly in Google Drive. And it goes on to say you can share files or folders with anyone and choose whether they can view, edit, or comment on your stuff. It also says you can start a discussion about your files. So it has a lot of features, I think, that Dropbox doesn't. It also says you can go back in time, sort of like Time Machine on the Mac. It says Google Drive tracks every change you make. So when you hit the save button, a new revision is saved. You can look back as far as 30 days automatically, or choose a revision to save forever. So this is definitely coming to the iPad and iPhone. And so we're going to have we have lots of choices now for online storage for the iPad as well as for the iPhone and for the Mac. Now, just days ago, on yesterday, April 23rd, Microsoft, maybe sort of anticipating Google was going to make some sort of move with cloud storage, upgraded its Skydrive service to version 2.0. And there's a Skydrive app that's free for the iPad and the iPhone. And basically, version 2.0 has been updated to support iPad, including the new iPad with Retina display. You can now choose multiple photos or videos to upload from your iPhone or iPad. You can share your files and photos, send a link in email, or get a link you can copy and paste, and you can manage your files, move, delete, rename, and create new folders. And I believe Microsoft actually has even more storage capabilities for Skydrive, which is free. So let's see, what does it say here? It says, I mean, I think you can get like 100 gigabytes or so pretty cheaply from Microsoft. Now, the one thing that kind of stinks about Skydrive on a Mac and maybe Windows 2 is that it when it's running, it keeps like an icon on the side of your screen. It's not just in the menu above. Let's take a look at Skydrive support. But Skydrive is also very generous with its space. And let's see. Oh, here it has a comparison chart regarding Skydrive. What it has that the competitors don't. And Microsoft compares it to Apple iCloud, to Google, and to Dropbox. And it says, I guess they didn't know about Google's, Google's Drive product. but it gives you 7 gigabytes free storage initially, compared to 5 gigabytes free for Apple, and Dropbox giving you 2 gigabytes. But now Dropbox is under pressure to increase its free storage. I mean, one way they're doing it is if you refer a friend to Dropbox, they give you 500 megabytes. So, there's just lots of choices. Finally, another competitor that came out recently on April 12th that has an app for the iPhone and iPad, and is also a similar cloud-based storage with folders on your computer, is the Cubby app, CUBBY app by Log Me In. Log Me In has for years been doing that remote login. And what I like about Cubby is, well, the app's kind of nice, but once you get the Cubby account on your computer, with Cubby, it creates a folder on your computer that's synced like Dropbox across all devices. But you can also send any folder on your computer to be part of the Cubby online, syncing. And the other crazy thing about Cubby is, they have this cool feature where if you decide, I think they only give you 5 gigabytes or something like that. But if you decide you want to sync across computers huge, like hundreds of gigabytes, and you don't want to back it up to the cloud because you're going to use up all the 5 gigabytes, you can say, no, I just want to sync this across computers, computer to computer, and not store it on Cubby. So that's really cool. Here, let me take a look at Cubby support. So here's the frequent question. Now, it goes on to say, what is Cubby? A Cubby is any folder that you want to share with people or devices via Cubby. You can turn any folder into a Cubby. Just drag any folder onto the Cubby application. The folder stays where it is and becomes a Cubby. Leave your folder where they are and make them into Cubbies, so you grab your stuff on the go and share with friends. And it goes to say, what's unlimited peer-to-peer syncing? It says unlimited peer-to-peer syncing means no storage limits when you're syncing between your own computers. Storage limits only apply to Cubbies that are synced to the cloud. So this is kind of a cool twist on the whole thing, that you can add other folders to Cubby, not just one Cubby folder, and that also you can sync between computers without it having count towards your online storage. What else? So it's very cool, and there's lots of choices. In terms of the system requirements, Cubby works on Android, on iPhone, iPod Touch, iPad, Windows Phone, BlackBerry, browsers on the PC or Mac. Linux is not yet supported. Actually, there is no Cubby app yet for Windows Phone or BlackBerry. I mean, I really like this app. So the point is, they're all free. So one thing you could do is just like download all of them and then use some, use Cubby for certain types of files or certain types of things, and use Dropbox for others. Use Skydrive. There's also Box, the Box app. So there's lots of choices, and I think this is the big push right now for cloud services. There's iCloud, there's all these apps, and it's just great for consumers. We're getting really great choices for sort of backup, online backup and syncing. So check it out. Okay, so that's it for episode 97 of the iPad podcast. This is Lex at Mac's Future. It's been quite a week. Big news for Apple in terms of its quarterly results, and lots of cool apps coming out continuing to come out for the iPad. So thanks for listening, and see you next week.
This has been a Max Future production.